Hi everyone and welcome back to Majestic Valley. Surprise, it's a voiceover, not stream highlights. The purpose of this video is to give you an update on the families of Majestic Valley before I move them to phase 2 of the world, which is where there's going to be a path network introduced. So a pretty significant milestone. I'm going to spend one day with each family and I'll be updating you on what each family has been doing, how their gameplay's been going, the relationships they've made, and introducing you to new family members. So I'm starting out with the Huntington family here in their modest cottage. Talking about Fowler here, just looking at his traits and his relationship. So he's made a few friends in town. I can see he's friends with Celeston, Mary Grovehurst, and Kareem Fanan. And he's actually got a couple of enemies there. So he's enemies with Gwen Grovehurst. Well, not really. They're not established enemies, but they don't like each other. And he's also not too friendly with one of the newcomers in town, Cornelius Scriven. So just going to get the family around the fire pit for breakfast. They are one of the few families in town that still eat around a fire pit, actually. I mean, they do... Oh, no, looking at their money now, they don't really have enough money for a full kitchen because the fridge that I like to use is really expensive. I think it's like 1,200 simoleons, so I won't be doing a kitchen for them anytime soon. So you're just getting everyone around the fire pit and just gonna have some breakfast. Alright, so looking at Meredith, her relationship, so she's actually good friends with Phoebe Scriven, Henrietta Beaufort, Cornelius, Oliver, Victoria, and Mary. So she's made quite a few friends in town, and that actually makes sense. I do see her out at the community. Oh, she doesn't like Lena. I do see her out at the community grounds making friends and all that stuff, so she seems to be quite likable. Here is Trapper, and Trapper is insane, so he does have kind of a hard time making friends. His personality is a bit erratic, so sometimes, he can be laughing and joking with someone and then the next minute he's yelling at them, so it can be a bit difficult for him. They have a second son, Oscar. There are his traits there. And his relationships, he's not really friends with anyone in town, which is kind of surprising because, yeah, he's athletic, loves the outdoors. You'd think he'd be out making friends, but no. And then they have a third son, Theron. So here are his traits here. And friends, he's only friends with Lena Fanan, which is just, a bit strange. It's kind of hard. I mean, when there's no school, it's kind of hard to get the kids to hang out with each other. So he doesn't really know many of the kids in town. So they do have a new cat, Sooty. Their dog that they had, Big Ears, unfortunately died of old age not too long ago. And then, of course, they have their OG horse, Brisk. Looking at the horse family tree right now is just out of control. It's not out of control. It's just really big. I did not expect horse gameplay to be like this with these massive family trees. It's pretty impressive. Now, to recap, this family is responsible for hunting and fishing, so they supply the community with meat and fish, and they do that through fishing, obviously, but also hunting, so they'll go out into the world and hunt small pets, large birds, raccoons if there are any, but I haven't seen any deer yet, so they haven't been able to hunt deer. So with the introduction of water infrastructure, usually what I have to do is send the Sims to the community grounds when I first start playing them to get some water from the well so they can actually use the plumbing objects in town. You can see the market in the background there, the market stalls. Some Sims are, I can see Xiang Nung actually buying something from the market in the background there. I was just checking, I thought that stand was closed, but it wasn't. I couldn't see how. But there he is in the background selling stuff. And they usually, like, with the kind of the labor activities that I have, or someone bought, what was that? Someone bought something. With the labor activities that I have for The Sims, they do take up a big chunk of their time. It's almost more than having a full-time job for them, because they tend to be out all day. The fishing, not so much. I mean, I usually have them do 5 fish a day as like a quota. They're just going to put out a fire here. They usually do 5 fish a day as a quota, but if I have them go out into the world and hunt other animals, that can take a long time, because they do have to kind of traverse across the map to find animals. As you can see Theron doing here, he had to go halfway across the map to find a little snake that's going to get him 2 steaks. And he's a bit upset from that. So in the warmer months, the world is much more lively. Lots more people at the community grounds. The winter time is much harder. Not many people show up. And the market does really poorly. So people kind of have to stock up over the winter in terms of money and resources. But at the moment it's okay. Trapper's just hanging out at the park here. He's going to go share a secret with Xiang. Still got the good old nub set there that takes up everyone's time. Everyone loves the nub set. I mean, I was going to have him continue that conversation, but things just got a little awkward then. Xiang's daughter yelled at her, and so he was like, no, I'm out of here. So he's going to try and have a little chat with Phoebe Scriven, one of the newest people in town, and they are chatting about the cold. It has been pretty cold in Majestic Valley. I mean, we're in late spring now. So it is warming up, but it's been a pretty cold winter. And here is Oscar. He's just going to hang around the campfire a bit, or the fire pit. It's not really a campfire, it's a fire pit. And this is kind of where all the Sims swarm. Come this time of day, if they're hungry, they'll just come and sit around the fire pit and have some marshmallows. I got Oscar to hang out with Shui a little bit. I just realized, like, you know, he hadn't really met any of the teens or anything like that, so I thought I would try and get him to at least talk to Shui, maybe strike up somewhat of a relationship with someone else other than his family. In terms of the future plans that I actually have for this family, I'm a bit unsure at this stage. I don't know exactly where I want to take the Huntingtons. They have a purpose in the world, and their role in the community is really important. But in terms of like long-term goals or plans outside of the hunting and fishing aspect of their gameplay, I can't really see anything just yet. It may come to me a bit later on, who knows, but some of the other families I have more of like an idea of whether I want to tie them to a community lot or a rabbit hole or something like that. But the Huntingtons, no idea yet. I mean, they are very fun to play, and they're actually one of my favourite families just because Yeah, they're one of the families that I first started playing, so I do have quite an attachment to them. At this point, I'm wondering if Trapper is the problem or if Chaos just follows him. Here he is minding his own business, eating fish by the fire pit, and Gwendolyn comes over and starts harassing Henrietta, which is very uncouth, so he's just going to head on home. I mean, the drama can be pretty fun to watch. The dynamics of the relationships and stuff. One minute people are friends, and then the next minute they're yelling at each other. I guess it's a good thing Trapper kind of keeps out of it. I mean, do you really want to be involved in all that drama? Seems like he doesn't. So here he is back home, and the house is very modest, as are most of the houses in the world right now. Heading over to the Grovehurst family at day 330 of the settlement, looking at Gwen's traits here and going over her relationships. She has one friend, Xiang Nung. As you can see, she was out, yelling at Henrietta last night. She also doesn't like Fowler Huntington, which is kind of strange because when I first started playing them and I got the market up and running, they were actually pretty good friends, and I'm sure I saw a sneaky flirt every now and then. Here's Dale. His relationships, he's also friends with Xiang, and he's distant friends with Lena. I feel like I don't really see him out that much. I don't know why. He tends to kind of keep to himself. Moving on to Mary, looking at her traits here. She is a bit of a social butterfly. She knows a lot of people in town. She even has a girlfriend, Lee Nung, who we will see in her relationship panel at the moment. That was very spontaneous. Lee initiated the first kiss and then asked her to be her girlfriend, and Mary accepted. Now, Mary then went and struck up a relationship with, well, not a relationship, like a romance with Celeston when he first moved into town. When they were both teenagers, Celeston moved in as a teen. They were both teenagers, and they struck up a romance. Celeston didn't know that Mary was taken. Mary was very naughty about the situation, starting up this love triangle, but it all ended pretty quickly because then Celeston saw Mary kissing her girlfriend at the community grounds, and he quickly ended that. Here's their second son, Oliver. I spent a lot of time talking about Mary, so I didn't really have much time to explain his traits or relationships, but it's not really significant at this point. That's all I can really say, unfortunately for him, but I think as he gets older, I will have a bit more to do with him. And then their third son, Edward, his relationships are, again, like the other kids, he doesn't really know many other children in town. It is what it is. While they're eating breakfast, I will explain their kind of role in the town and how that's been going. So they are the gardeners of the town, and they provide produce to the community. You can see some of their garden in the background. It's actually grown quite a bit. But this family has struggled to make money. The produce, they're not really able to sell for much. And in terms of the town's needs for it, it's not all that great. So I'm really looking forward to getting the consignment store up and running, so this family can actually start selling their goods to the outside economy as well as internally to other residents. So you can see it's quite a big garden now. They have some wheat, and they sell that to Celeston, who turns it into flour. They have like an orchard next to it with, at the moment, I think it's apples, oranges, peaches, limes, and pecans. Eventually, this family is going to open a grocery store. They will pretty much run the grocery store rabbit hole, so that's the ultimate goal that I have for them. But the good thing about this family being so big is that it doesn't take that much time to do the gardening anymore. Whereas it would take a whole day when it was just Gwen, Dale, and Mary. And now that they have a couple of extra kids, it's a couple of extra pairs of hands to get the gardening done. You can see Dale here has now reached level 10 of his gardening skill point, which is amazing. So yeah, the winter time is really hard for this family. The crops go dormant and hardly anyone shows up to the market to buy goods. So money for them has been a real struggle at the moment. I've had them take out a loan and they've pretty much borrowed that money from the Beaufort family. So they owe them money, which is unfortunate, but they needed it to kind of tie them over a little bit. So Mary is going to visit her girlfriend, Lee, and they live pretty much next door to the Grovehursts. The Nung family does. And you can see there that Mary has the wish to move in with Lee. So I'm going to initiate that today. Now this was pretty spontaneous. I was not expecting it to happen, but Lee asked Mary to move in with her. So that completely came out of the blue. I'd never actually done this before where you kind of go through this kind of autonomous interaction. So I accepted, of course, because I wanted it to happen. And then I botched it because I had Lee move into the Grovehurst family and then I accidentally somehow have Mary switch into the Nung family. So then I had to kind of go back and fix it. But I did manage to get it sorted in the end so that Lee and Mary are living under the same roof, basically. But yeah, you can see I've had Lee move in with the Grovehursts. And then straight after that debacle, one of the pets died in the Nung household. So really unfortunate timing, but yeah, it is actually pretty sad when the pets die in The Sims 3, as you can see here in just a minute. Poor Mary, after she moved, she was teleported back to her home lot, so I had to have her rung back to the Nung household so that she could comfort her girlfriend after her pet died. So there she is, running in the background, cheering her up. I decided to have Lee stick around and hang out with her family, given the sad situation. She really needed to use the toilet and she was absolutely going to clean it before she used it. She does not like a dirty toilet at all. Mary's hanging out as well. Poor Xiang is absolutely devastated. So no one's bothered to serve food in this house, so just going to get them to help themselves to the fridge. But before she helps herself to her parents' fridge, she's just going to break their toilet. No sweat. Okay, so I think at this stage it's time for them to leave. So the rest of the Grovehurst family during this play session was just hanging out at the community grounds. So I'm sending them all back to the lot now, the home lot. And you can see that their house is just ridiculous. There is no space for anyone. I did buy a bunk bed for Lee and Mary, but Lee couldn't route there, so She had to sleep in the sleeping bag. Luckily, I didn't get rid of the sleeping bag. So now Lee has somewhere to sleep. But yeah, very, very challenging, this household. Moving on to the Beauforts, day 331 of the settlement. Looking at Edgar's relationships. He's got a couple of disliked people in town. And then Henrietta. Her traits. And then taking a look at her relationships, or just getting a close-up on her first, so you can see what she looks like. Yeah, she's friends with a couple of people in town. Celeston and Meredith. Not too keen on Dale. And then we have Victoria. Looking at her traits now that she's aged up. She was originally a child when she moved into this world. Where is she? She's sitting at the table there. And she is actually romantically involved with Celeston, the baker. And she's friends with Meredith and Mary. And also Lee. And Xiang. And she has no enemies, which is good. She seems to get along with pretty much everyone at this stage. Here is her younger sister, Caroline. The second daughter of the Beauforts. Looking at her traits there. She hasn't really made friends with anyone. She's almost friends with Shui. Now taking a look at the Beaufort's youngest children, their twin daughters, Eleanor and Theodosia. I don't know why Ellie hates Hal. That's just so random. Like just seeing a child absolutely hate one of the other adults in town. Like I have no idea how that happened. And then Theodosia here. She's made friends with Phoebe Scriven, one of the new people in town. This family, their purpose is to stimulate the economy by going out and collecting jewels and stones and all that really expensive stuff and selling it to the outside economy, and that's basically to pump money into the Majestic Valley economy. So what I have them do is go and look for those items throughout the world, and Henrietta actually earned enough points to be able to buy the collection helper, I think that's what it's called. And so it's super easy for her to find stuff in the world now. One of the other things that the Beaufort family does is they fund initiatives in the town. So they were able to fund a community well, which is at the community grounds, but they're also going to fund the consignment store, and they're actually going to own the consignment store, and that will open up the entire community to the outside economy. Now, because the Beauforts have enough money to own a consignment store, and I'm able to build one, that was kind of what prompted me to move to the second phase of the world. Once a milestone has been reached, we'll move to the next phase. But anyway, here's Henrietta. She's out collecting some gems. And this can take a whole day, sending her out into the world and having her look for things. Even with the collection helper. Sometimes I'll send multiple Sims out, but just for the sake of this video, so we're focusing on one person, I just decided to send Henrietta out for the day. And as I was about to send her home, I saw a ginormous space rock in the distance, so I had to get her to go and pick that up before she heads home. She has a little bit of difficulty picking it up here because Adeline is standing on it, but she gets it in the end. So she's arrived home, and the first thing I will have her do is get all of her metals smelted. and that way they will arrive the next day and I can sell them. So she's going to get all of that done, and I'll have her analyze some space rocks as well. Then once she's taken care of the rocks and the metals, she will go and cut the gems with her gem cutter here, which the whole family absolutely hates because it's so noisy. You'll see in a minute they start, getting a bit pissed off about it. I try and have her avoid doing this when people are sleeping, but sometimes I just need it done and she'll just wake up the whole house. Once she's done cutting everything, I will go through and sell all the gems. Once the consignment store arrives in town, then I'll start using the consignment store to sell these items. At the moment it feels a little too cheaty, but I'm really looking forward to getting the consignment store. As I said, it will open up the rest of the world to the outside economy. So, for example, the Grovehursts and the Nungs and the Huntington family will be able to sell whatever they catch through the consignment store, as well as a couple of other families in town as well. But we'll get onto them a bit later. Now, in terms of their house, they do have the biggest house in the world right now, but they have 4 kids, so things are a bit tight. However, once I move to phase 2, I'm going to start renovating the houses and doing more significant extensions and stuff like that. Hopefully some more money will come in. I don't know about all the families, but nonetheless the Beauforts will be getting an upgrade so that at least the children can have will not have all 4 of them sleeping in the same house. But given Victoria is kind of romantically involved with Celeston, she will likely move in with him at some stage. Not sleeping in the same house, sleeping in the same room. I don't want all 4 of them sleeping in the same room. So they're wrapping up their evening. Everyone's going to start going to bed soon. I think Edgar's, he's heading off to bed now. And Victoria's going to have a little bit of mac and cheese with her mum. Looks like Caroline's going to join her.
Nashimana Hurak.
And compared to the Grovehursts, this family is actually very easy to play, despite the fact that they have 2 twin daughters, or the Beauforts have 2 twin daughters. Things are relatively smooth sailing here. Really the only downside is the 1 bathroom situation, but I still have the One with Nature mod installed, so if they need to kind of go toilet or anything, I'll just send them outside or into the river. But yeah, generally it's quite pleasant to play here. And yeah, I really need to get Victoria out of this house because she shares a room with her 3 sisters, and here they are pretty much waking her up in the early hours of the morning, playing with their toys. And so the post has arrived, the invisible postman, to deliver Henrietta's medals that she found yesterday. So I'm going to sell all of those. And the palladium is the one to look out for because that one's worth heaps. There it is there. We've already spent a little bit of time with the Nung family, but here we are with a proper kind of recap of the family. And we're starting out with Xiang here, looking at her relationships. Everyone's pretty upset about the... they actually had another pet die, so their dog died when I was playing the Grovehurst, and then when I was playing the Beauforts, their cat died. So they're still kind of overwhelmed with grief. But looking at some relationships, Xiang, yeah, she's got some fair relationships in the world. Looking at Hao's traits here and his relationship, there's nothing really significant here. He works at the market, so he's not really out socializing that much. Although he does not like Ali. And then we've got Haran. He's also insane. He hasn't really... I don't think he's met Trapper. I wonder how they... Well, no, he has. And they do, you know, they're so-so acquaintances. But, I mean, like Trapper, he doesn't really have many friends in town. He's distant friends with Celeston, but he has trouble making friends in town. He did actually, at one point, hate his twin sister, Lee. But they seem to have kind of mended their relationship a little bit. And then the Nungs have their third child, Shui. She was born in the world. And... yeah, looking at her relationships and her traits. Lots of athletic sims in this world. Yeah, and she hasn't really made many friends either, but she's close to some, making friends with some people. One of the first things they do in this household is have the family, someone in the family, collect the eggs. And Haran's going to do it this morning. And what do you know? He found a lucky egg. I have them sell the lucky eggs because it's just some extra cash. Was one of the liberties that I had to take with adding a little bit of the outside economy to some of the families if they ever get the chance, because the money situation was pretty dire at one stage and it was taking forever for the Sims to kind of earn any money that was significant that they could do really anything with. Even now you can see the families haven't really progressed that much in terms of how they started and where they're at now. So yeah, as you can see, Haran's actually milking the cows in the background, but he's struggling to do it today because, of course, he's devastated about the death of his cat. And Xiang's going to do some housework, but first she needs to unclog the toilet that her daughter left behind when she moved out yesterday. Well, not yesterday, a couple of days ago now. If you couldn't tell by the cow pens and the chicken coops, this family is responsible for animal products. So they supply the community with animal products and they sell them at the market stall, which I'm pretty sure I show off a little bit later on. And much like the Huntington family, I don't necessarily have an aspiration for this family apart from the animal products that they sell to the community. I don't have any particular community lots or rabbit holes that I want them to own or oversee or take care of or anything like that. So at this stage, the purpose of the family is simply to provide the community with animal products, and we'll see where it goes from there. Like with the other families, I will, you know, come up with some ideas at some stage down the line, or I may not, and they may just be destined for what they're doing right now for the rest of their lives. Who knows? Xiang's just been doing some chores this morning, and this afternoon, I mean, and she's just doing some washing now, getting it off the line, and then using the wash tub. Actually, it was Haoran who washed it. Or was it Xiang? No, actually, I think Xiang did all of it. I was going to get Haoran to hang it out, but then Xiang was closer, so I got her to hang it out. But that wash tub is amazing, great for kind of historical or off-the-grid gameplay. I got it from Mod The Sims, if you're interested. And with Shui here, what I've done is the milk that she harvested from the cows, I had her turn hers into cheese. Haoran is turning his into pasteurized milk, which can be used in recipes. And Xiang is turning hers into butter, which can also be used in recipes. So that's how it works. And then I'm putting it in the market stall here. So here's Hao at the market. Oscar just bought some butter off him, and now I'm going to stock up the market stall. And you can see they've got quite a few. Oh, you know, it's well stocked up at the moment, but I do like to touch it up at least once in a play session. And I haven't really explained, but a play session for me is pretty much 4 days per family. My season's length is 28 days, and the lifespan that I play with is kind of an altered version of the long lifespan. So it's not epic, but I've added about 25%, I think, onto the long lifespan. And this is basically what Hal does after he's finished at the stall. Sometimes he'll hang out, and sometimes I'll send him straight home. Kind of depends. This stage he wasn't really interested in a conversation with Celeston, but mind you, he was interrupted by Gwen. She just had to talk to Celeston, so he's going to go watch Lena play chess. So riveting. I mean, I really can't wait to upgrade this community ground. It's been really fun to play with, but it does get quite tiring. Not tiring, boring. So it really does need an upgrade, and I need a couple more community lots just to keep my Sims a bit more entertained. But that will all be coming in phase 2. I did place almost like a makeshift graveyard because I wasn't really sure what happened to Sims' tombstones when they died, if there was no mausoleum rabbit hole. And so I placed a makeshift cemetery down, and Hal was just going to pick up the tombstones of his deceased pets. I need to make sure that everyone has all the objects that I need and items around the world that I need for them to be able to transfer over to the new world. So I need to make sure I have all my Sims collect all their dead relatives before they head on over to the new version of Majestic Valley. And then Hal's just going to go to bed. This is the sleeping situation at the moment. Of course, there is a bed free now that Lee has moved in with Mary, but Shui is still insistent on sleeping in her sleeping bag. Now moving on to the Boulanger family, day 333 of the settlement. This is Celeston here. He lives on his own. He is the baker of the town, and he is also responsible for providing the community with flour. And that little contraption that he has there, I mean, it is a food processor, but I do like to pretend that it's a flour mill, because you actually need that to grind up the wheat to make flour with the wheat mod, which is also on Mod The Sims. So what he usually does is when I first start playing him, is I will send him to the market. He'll buy up all the wheat from the Grovehursts, and then he will turn it into flour. We'll see that a little bit later on. He's just having breakfast. He's got a couple of pets. He's got Whipper, his horse, and his cat Croissant, who is the descendant of a couple of other cats in the town. He's just making some eggs for breakfast. Now, in terms of his relationships, I did kind of show that before, but I was too busy yapping away and I didn't explain it. So, I mean, he is charismatic, so he is out and about making a lot of friends in the world, but he's also romantically involved with Victoria Beaufort. And as you can see there, she's right at the top of his relationship panel, but you can see he's also made friends with quite a few others in town. And he's just waiting for the market stall to open right now, so he's playing with his cat. I saw Fowler running past before, but really what I'm waiting for is Fowler to get back to the market stall so that he can go and buy... Well, not Fowler. I don't think he needs anything from Fowler. He doesn't need any fish or meat. He needs wheat. I'm just closing his stand so he doesn't go to work. Because he's the only Sim that I play. I mean, I don't want him kind of working the whole time, so I tend to have him stay off work when I play with him. In the meantime, I'm sending Whipper off to drink from the river while I'm waiting for the market stall to open. And finally, I think... Oh no, Mary still hasn't shown up. I can see in the top right there, she's still not there. I mean Gwen, not Mary. And as you can see, Victoria's invited Celeste onto her spring house party, so I'm going to check that out a bit later on. And finally Mary shows up. Celeste was about to do some washing, but put a stop to that so he can come and buy some wheat. I looked in the fridge before, you could see that just before that. He did have some other ingredients in the fridge to be able to make some baked goods, but he didn't have any flour, which he needs to make. And I don't think he actually needs any flour for some of the recipes, so I think he's okay for now. I don't think I explained as well that not only does he supply flour to the town, but he also supplies baked goods. So he kind of has like a little makeshift bakery. So filling up his inventory with wheat, and with the produce stand that I use from Annie, it's also on Mod The Sims. Actually, no, I think the one that I use is on NRUS, the NRUS website. But once these stands get really full, they do become quite laggy. So just be mindful of that if you plan on using those. But the market is generally a really fun, busy place to be in the warmer months. As you can see there, lots of people showing up. And so Celeston has bought some flour, and then I'm just going to have him go to the quote-unquote flour mill and grind it. And you'll get a little demonstration as to how this works. You can see him, he is holding some wheat in his hand, and then he's just going to plop it in the food processor / flour mill, turn it on. And once it's done grinding, he'll end up with some flour, and then he'll just pop that in his inventory, and it's ready to go. I have altered a few of the base game recipes to incorporate flour. The wheat mod that kind of adds flour to some recipes by default, I kind of use that as a base to add flour to additional recipes, particularly the baker station. So he needs flour to make cobblers, I think, and a few other bits and pieces. Bread, definitely. And he's all done, so he's going to get on Whipper, and then he's going to go and visit the Beauforts and check out their party. And I mean, I've played this already. I'm just doing a voiceover right now, so I'm not very enthused about this party because it was pretty much another one of those phantom townie parties where they invite you over and there's pretty much no one there except the household. So it was just another one of those weird kind of creepy parties. But nonetheless, I had Celeste on spend some time with Victoria, and looking over the valley, they were doing some cute little romantic interactions.
Now wadu nim.
Nar Maliaka.
Mior.
Oh. Zazak.
Oh. Nerfei.
And after an hour of flirting and kissing and all that stuff, I decided to get Celeste on to ask Victoria to be his girlfriend.
Manerg. Zasahani.
Grilash.
And of course I'm really excited about this because apart from Lee and Mary, this is the second couple in Majestic Valley to kind of form outside of the default households, the households that I pre-made. Apart from all the laborious gameplay that I'm doing, like, you know, the produce, the farm, the hunting and all that, I'm really excited for the generational gameplay as well. So these relationships starting up are actually really exciting to me. So I'm looking forward to seeing where Celeston and Victoria go. At the moment, he's just having a great time at her spring day party or whatever it was called. I mean, he came over and her family was just having a pillow fight in the living room. I mean, I guess that's their idea of a spring day fun. But he's just going to chill out, have some mac and cheese with the Beauforts. His, oh no, he's not actually having mac and cheese. No, they didn't even serve any food. So he went and ended up having one of his own pies that he baked and that they bought off him. So yeah, it was a bit of a dud party. I tend to see a lot of these at the moment. So yeah, I mean, he had a bit of a bite to eat, and yeah, I left him on his, sent him on his way. He came home and had a nap, and then I decided to get him to bake a few things before I switch over to the next household. So he's already made one pie and he's just finishing up with his second. These pies are really good because they do generate a lot of money for him. The flour not so much, but his baked goods, they do. That's probably where his biggest profit comes from, where most of his profit comes from. And then I'm just going to get him ready for bed. I tend to get through Celestin quite quickly. I mean, he is just a single sim living on his own. So yeah, I'm just putting the pies in the food stand and just making sure that they're unspoilable. Moving on to the Fanan family, day 334 of the settlement. Looking at Lena's traits here and her relationships, and we saw earlier that she is pretty much besties with Theron Huntington. She's old friends with Dale Grovehurst. She knows quite a few people in town, and she despises Meredith Huntington. So it's weird, like she hates Meredith Huntington, but she is besties with her child's son. Like it just makes no sense, whatever, Lena. And looking at Kareem here, so he's good friends with Mary, old friends with Celestin, distant friends with Fowler. He has a bit of a difficult relationship with his wife, though. They've never really got along. It's a miracle that they've had another child because, yeah, their romance just goes sour really easily, and I think that's because Lena is socially awkward. Riyadh, on the other hand, we'll talk about him in just a minute because I'm just showing off the family portraits that, photos that they've been taking. So this family is responsible for kind of art, providing the other families with portraits, you know, like legacy portraits and stuff like that. Eventually, I'm going to have them own the art gallery. You can see it was originally a family of 5, and unfortunately the grandparents have already passed away, Solomon and Mariam. And these are the portraits that I've taken for the families around the town, but I need a post office to be able to send them to the families once they've actually been completed. Sometimes I will try and have Kareem give them as gifts. You know, he'll take a photo of the family and then try and give it to them as a gift. But then if Kareem doesn't like the person very much, they won't accept the gift. And yeah, so they've also got a baby son, Abram, here. He's only just come along. He's pretty much a miracle baby because, as I said, it was really hard to get Lena and Kareem to kind of be romantic. And she wanted to woohoo with him. Quite often they want to woohoo with each other, but then the other one will reject. And so it was really hard for me to get them to have another child. And I'm glad I did because their eldest son, Riyadh, is such an introvert. He's not really interested in any sort of relationship. He hates the outdoors, he's a loner, and he's mean-spirited. So getting him out and making friends is really impossible. Pretty much impossible, although he is friends with Edward Grovehurst, funnily enough. I have no idea how they managed to strike up a friendship, but they did. So they spend their days painting, and you could see Kareem was practicing his photography skill. I have allowed the Fanans to use the outside economy for their artwork, because it was another way of me to just kind of overcome the slow money situation where it was just taking so long for any families to earn any money. So I've allowed them to use the outside economy. And Lena, she is just heading to the park. I mean, usually I'll get them to do their chores for the day. Riyadh and Solomon will do some painting or take pictures. Sometimes Lena will. And, you know, if I'm kind of done with the day there, then they will just kind of go to the community ground, seeing as it's right next door. Riyadh, thankfully, is very attentive to his baby brother. Here he is here going to care for him. You can see one of their family portraits that I had their Riyadh's grandfather take.
Puja?
And here's Lena playing guitar. So not only does she paint, she's not as good of a painter as her husband and son, but she also plays the guitar. So that's kind of like her other hobby that she has. And so here she is at the park just entertaining everyone. This has been like a new addition to my gameplay recently. I mean, I did want to have someone, entertain Sims around town, and Lena was the first one to want to buy a guitar. And she is making tips off Sims, but I was kind of worried about her sucking the town dry with all of her tips. So I don't want her kind of playing out there all day, every day just yet. Maybe when there's a few more residents and the households have a bit more income. But at this stage, I have people in houses without kitchens, and here she is kind of asking them for money for tips. So a bit later on, Kareem is still taking some pictures or practicing his photography skill. And he is going to get the extra creative trait. So hopefully that will improve the quality of his paintings and make them worth more. Lena's just prepared some mac and cheese. Riyadh's going to have some along with her. Yeah, the cramped houses can be such a challenge. As you can see, she went to go sit down and then Riyadh was in the way. So the routing could be a bit problematic sometimes. But I mean, if you can overlook that, then playing in small houses can be okay.
Log. Argdoddle.
So here's a demonstration of their difficult marriage. I mean, you can see Lena has the wish to woohoo with Kareem. And so I'm going to have her attempt this. And he wasn't even interested in kissing her, so that's just pretty awkward. So, I mean, there's really nothing else to do in this situation other than go to sleep. Riyadh sleeps up in the attic, so he's just going to head off to bed as well. And here we have the final family in this video, which is the Scriven family, day 335 of the settlement. We have Cornelius Scriven. You can see the kind of relationships he's developed since I've introduced him to the town. He doesn't like Edgar or Fowler. And Phoebe. Her traits there. And she's good friends with Meredith and Theodosia. And she doesn't like Celeston. You can see that she doesn't like her horse. The horse Henry is pretty grouchy, so she hasn't really warmed up to him. They have a couple of cats, Tuppence and Putty, who have had a kitten that was adopted by the Huntingtons. And I did stream this family, and it was really fun, but my microphone audio was a bit bad, so I decided not to put that one up as highlights. So we're kind of getting to know this family here right now on YouTube. They are going to be responsible for writing. I mean, it's not really a responsibility. It's kind of what they want to contribute to the community. So they're going to be writers, and the goal for them is to open up the bookstore and then contribute to the construction of the town's first library. At the moment, Phoebe is the only one that's really interested in writing. You can see I have her writing on her scribbling pad, which is from Mod The Sims. If you're interested, it means that Sims can write books without a computer. So Phoebe's really the only one interested in doing it right now, whereas Cornelius is more kind of just a bit aloof. So I'm just showing off the cat's family tree here, looking at Sooty Huntington. Cornelius is going to do a bit of cleaning up. So you can see he's not really interested, like from his wish panel, he wants to learn to cook. But he can't do that because his bookshelf has no cookbooks. And yeah, I don't even know if anyone else in town has any cookbooks. So, I mean, more or less it should motivate him to want to write and get this bookstore up and running. But I guess he's more interested in the horse right now. So here is Henry. And I'm trying to improve the relationship between Henry and Cornelius so that he can actually ride him. Because, yeah, as you can see, Henry is grouchy. He's an aggressive horse. And so he doesn't take to people riding on him. I think he's also untrained. And that makes it even harder for other Sims to ride the horses. So they were invited to a party at the Beaufort. So the Beauforts are throwing another party. In the meantime, while they're waiting for that party to start, Phoebe's continued to work on her book, and then Cornelius is just reading, leaving all the hard work to her, which is a bit unfair. A bit later on, I had them head on over to the Beauforts. Now, neither Phoebe nor Cornelius actually befriended Henry, so they weren't able to ride him, so they had to run there in the rain. But they arrived in the end. Phoebe's just helping herself to the fridge, and as you can see, it's another one of the Beaufort's phantom parties, where they've invited 2 people over and no one else. So it's pretty much just hanging out with the Beauforts, eating dinner with them, chatting with them. Their fridge is absolutely disgusting right now, needs to be cleaned out. And they didn't even serve any food, so I'm getting Cornelius and Phoebe to help themselves.
Nadu.
Victoria was actually outside for most of this party, and she comes inside and sees the guests pretty much having to fend for themselves. So here she is, being kind and serving food for her guests. In the meantime, Phoebe's just going to clean up after her hosts. Now after dinner, Cornelius decided to socialise with Henrietta a little bit. I mean, it was nice of her to come up to him and actually engage with him after inviting him to this party. So yeah, they are having a nice little chat. And a bit later on, Edgar decides to spoil the mood and come and insult Cornelius out of the blue, completely out of the blue. But Cornelius wasn't having any of that. Absolutely not. But nonetheless, Theo decided to lighten up the mood and give Cornelius a bit of a shaka bra. And this whole situation was a bit awkward, so I decided to send them home. Not quite the party that I was expecting or wanting. But yeah, anyway, sending the Sims to bed, and that's the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed this little recap of Majestic Valley, getting to see what the families have been up to and my plans for them for the future before I move them into the next phase of the world. If you're interested in following more of the project outside of YouTube, you can follow me on Tumblr. I do post screenshots of what I'm doing in my gameplay when I'm kind of not recording things. And I also post, I stream little recaps on Twitch as well. Thanks very much for watching and coming along with me in this journey. It's been very interesting. I'm having so much fun with it, and I hope to see you again soon.